Good afternoon. You're in for a treat, ladies and gentlemen. Or not, we'll see as we go along. So, Adrian Withill from Derbyshire County Council. Oh, I'm doing this. Dear me, sorry. Technology, AI, I think we ought to have some natural intelligence somewhere or other would be good. So there we are. So as you get older, you reminisce a bit. And I've had 40 years plus on ITS since working in Leicestershire on microsimulation, sorry, not microsimulation, Christ almighty, on microprocessor traffic signal controllers when they first came in. That was a dark, dark art, and very few people understood that. But luckily we got characters like Howard Saffer about from Sheffield, now retired, sadly demised, Brian Simonite from Lincolnshire County Council. We're all learning together. And we learned as the technology progressed, which is an important point, so that there wasn't a big leap to make at any specific time. But having been 40 years in the general industry, what I have found is there's a lot I do not know. And the sessions that we've had so far, excellent. And I'm thinking, oh dear, I hope nobody ever asks me a question about some of that, because I haven't a Scooby-Doo, as they would say on it. The other, I ought to give a little bit of thanks to having this slot, in that we saw when the first agenda came out that there was a time available for local authorities to talk about the Green Light Fund. And we thought, okay, Derbyshire are a set of cheeky chomlets, really. Shall we put in a paper and see if anybody likes it? Now, I don't know if they liked it, but maybe nobody else volunteered, so here we are now. And what I'd like to give to you is a bit of an explanation around what it's all about for us in Derbyshire. So I'll talk a little bit about Derbyshire. And Darren, I know you mentioned earlier on, evaluation and dissemination. We have built that into what we're doing. Because if we find out something, we don't want to keep it to ourselves, good or bad. We'd rather like people to know about it. So there are some caveats, as usual, in that when I put this together originally, we hadn't got the ground conditions. They've come through now, along with the money, so thanks, Darren, on that. And so we got that received. It does give me a small problem, though, as I'll come on to in a few minutes' time, because the supplementary information that needs requiring, and thanks to the extension as well till the end of May, but I think we'll hit the original one if we can, is that I don't know where we are going to apply the Green Light Fund. Now, that's not all bad, I hope, and we'll find out about it as we go through this. And, of course, we have yet to receive the approval to spend and agree and the governance. And I'd like to come back onto that briefly if we don't run out of time, if that's okay. So, never start a presentation with an apology, so I have 6. Hanging around on New Street Station yesterday waiting, oh, it wasn't yesterday, was it Tuesday? Waiting for a train. My word, was the air quality poor. So I've been coughing and hoiking. So if my voice runs out, I know you'll all cheer, but please bear with me. And I've no idea how long the presentation's going to last. I thought possibly between 3 hours and 4 hours, but I'll get hoofed off, I know, when the time is up. In listening to the various presentations and meeting people in the pretty excellent mingling sessions, I'm very much aware that even though this is a very specific area, intelligent transport systems, there are different elements of that, different cohorts of that. And whereas I'm going to be talking about traffic signals, which is inherent in a lot of people here, especially the local government, it might be more of a mystery to others. So therefore, I think I'll explain a few things about traffic signals as we're going along. Not a lot, but I will. Because it could be an area of mystery to many people, and therefore I want to put that into context with what we're actually doing, and things will change. So just down the bottom there, you can see the bottom right-hand corner. That is the Webster and Cobb delay formula from 1966, which was Road Note 56, I think it probably is. And that's the basis of the calculating delay on an approach to a set of traffic signals. I think it's probably still valid. So it's not wet finger in the air how the traffic signals operate. But what we want to do with the Green Light Fund money, and Darren explained a little bit what it's for, basically it's not what you got, it's what you do with it, which is always a good premise to have. So we've got a set of loads of traffic signals, 131, which Richard Dolphin at Transport for Greater Manchester is thinking, crikey, I install that every year. Well, yes, but we've got special circumstances now. 131 junctions are very special. But we do have delays, and I want to talk a little bit about those later on. And there are lots of permutations of things going on in Derbyshire. So we want to maximise the benefits of previous investment. I thought it hasn't quite worked as well as I thought. I wanted people to say, wow, are you putting that up on a variable message sign? No, I haven't, of course. I've superimposed the text on top of it. But we want to deliver some quick wins. And that's one thing we can do, and all of us who receive the Green Light Fund money, because doing something as a set of traffic signals has an immediate effect. There's potential downsides, of course, and I was talking to a fellow from Loughborough earlier on, and one of my early experiences of working in a traffic control centre is I completely locked up the town because I miscoded something into the computer. And the computer at the time was a room full of Honeywell computers, and the coding that went in for the traffic signal timings was on ticker tape. So you can imagine the panic I had trying to find the previous version of the timings and put those back in. That taught me a huge, huge lesson. Be careful. So there's lots of things that are going on. So Derbyshire is actually a big place. Driving from the south to the north, even Andy Grammer's petrolhead, it'll take him over 90 minutes to get from the south to the north of Derbyshire. East to west, about 75 minutes. So it is a big place. We have a lot of visitors. 40 million day trips, as you can see down there, 13 million of which go to the Peak District National Park. So when it's sunny, lots of people decide, oh, let's go to the Peak District and have a nice day. Then it rains and everyone clears off through our sets of traffic signals. I should mention on this that there's 20 million people who are within an hour and a half by driving of Derbyshire, so it's quite an attractive place. I think we have more visitors than the Grand Canyon, for instance, so it is a popular place for people to come to. And we do get random congestion. You see, that's a picture of Ashbourne, which don't go there in February, please, because that's when there's a football match where between the fighting, one team of people try and get a ball from one pub to the other. And I say that with a little bit of levity, but that causes traffic problems, unpredictable traffic problems, because the centre of Ashbourne has to be closed down whilst that occurs, so ambulances can get there for various reasons. So, there's some of the background things I'd like to tell you about, and I've put some things in bold because those are important to us. We've had a lot of investment from the DFT recently, which we're immensely grateful for. Something that really kick-started things was the Bus Service Improvement Plan. In Derbyshire, we won £47 million from the DFT, and about 18 million is for traffic signal upgrades to apply bus priority. That enables us, and you can see at the bottom of there, that our signals estate is in a very good condition in terms of its functionality and modernity. So we're in a good place like that. Some other important things, and in listening to previous presentations, it's very obvious that there's some extremely sophisticated systems that are available, that will be in the future, integrating together. But where do you get the staff from to operate them, to understand it, to specify? So in local government, you can't just say, I'll have one of them, please. It's got to be specified and tendered for. So it makes it a little bit difficult, not insurmountable, but you've got to have specialists to define. Otherwise, once you're in contract, I'm afraid there is a word beginning with, you will get stuffed. I think that's a polite way of saying that. So because of BSIP principally, Bus Service Improvement Plan, we do have specialists about, good specialists, practical people who know what they're doing. Because you will be aware, especially in local government colleagues, that a lot of consultants in particular do not know their approach from the EPROM, and therefore you don't really want that. We've been very fortunate in getting some excellent people to help us. So we start in a good position. But in BSIP, what we couldn't do at the time, because there's 131 junctions, there wasn't time to tickle up all the timings for general traffic. For bus priority, yes, that was the funding mechanism, so therefore that's what we did. So in Derbyshire, we have mainly DFT funded. We've got a scoot-based urban traffic control, big deal. Everyone's thinking, well, a big deal, yeah. In fact, one of the things, and I've got small bee in my bonnet about this with Scoot, is it's still integer arithmetic based. We did wonder whether we could be cheeky in our green light fund and say, could we pay for it to become real number based, please? Because there's probably a 5% immediate benefit of that throughout the country. And Michael talked, didn't he, yesterday about benefit cost ratios. I would bet, since I'm a Yorkshireman, probably a couple of quid with him, that the benefit cost ratio is over 1 million to 1 on that. The work going into it and the benefit. You think of all the motorists, road users around the country that go through Scoot regions, and if there's a 5% benefit to those people, my word, will that mount up. Anyway, we didn't do it that way. We did it a different way. So we have a common database provided by SWARCO, and that's all these are connected. So we've got the urban traffic control system provided by SWARCO, but we've got something called the preemptive traffic management system, and all these are connected, interconnected. This is where, and I'll just go into a better summary, and this is provided by ACOM, and I don't know the full details of it because it is rather nerdy, but I think ACOM have got a stand here, so I'd recommend you go and have a word with them about this. This is giving us real-time information on the status of every link of our network, with a historical database as well, with work under development to communicate with Withill communications, and also because it's integrated with our other traffic control systems, then we can do things once we've got the data. So I'll skip on a little bit quicker. So this is not in Derbyshire, I have to put that, but where do we apply? Where do we apply the green light funding to make things better? This happens to be a great big junction in Bucharest, it's not in Derbyshire. We don't have stuff like that here, but we do have our busy bits of Derbyshire where there is congestion, where you get severe delays many times the days are predictable. We get unpredictable ones in the Peak District National Park where there are no diversion routes if anything happens. And then we've got floods nowadays as well, and they can all happen together. So we've got a lot going on. So our premise on this is to get the maximum benefit we can for the pound spent. And this is throughout Derbyshire as well. So we're avoiding, by and large, if we can, major civil engineering expense. Therefore, maybe putting in mover sometimes, well, it's going to be beneficial, but it costs a lot of money. Can we do something a little bit different and get a lot of benefit and do it quickly? So here's the map of Derbyshire, zooming in a little bit from the PTMS, the Preemptive Traffic Management System. And you see it was a good day. Everything's in green there. That's lovely. It's just, I put this paper together rather quickly, and last Friday when I was doing it, there wasn't any particular congestion, but there normally is. So where are we going to do this? Well, we've got a lot of objective monitoring of traffic conditions around Derbyshire. I say objective because we all know on our own patches where there is difficulty, but that's a personal view, and usually a good view. But we've got numbers. We've got numbers that back it up. They say, well, there's always problems on a Sunday afternoon at this junction near Lady Bower. We should do something about that. We have, because we haven't sat on our hands, but we could do better. And the Green Light Fund will enable us to do that. So keeping an eye on Google is quite a powerful tool, looking around what's happening at the moment on the network. Not perfect. The PTMS we have is better than Google, but there's a whole load of information that practical traffic signal engineers can do. Now, we're not planning to model the junctions, and I want to tell you why in a minute or so, but I just want to go briefly to the side, as an aside, in that I think it was Luke in Hellman mentioned VA, Vital Actuation Operation of Traffic Signals. And this is where the local authority specialists nod off because they say, yeah, we know that. And indeed they do. But the operation of traffic signals is not particularly simple. There's Boolean logical stage change conditioning, which is what I put down here, based on detection. You can see the bottom left-hand corner, which is something I pinched from Brent in South Yorkshire, shows the detectors on the approach to that set of traffic signals. When specifying the traffic signal controller, that's the box of tricks that makes the signals go round and light up the lanterns, is the you have to give a load of information, one of which is time of day, maxima should I say, for each phase. In effect, think of it, it's more simple, think of on each approach to the sets of traffic signals. So on this example, the bottom left-hand corner of the junction, we've got 3 sets of detectors, which is fairly normal. There are different permutations of that, and if I went into details, we would be here for several days. But simplistically, vehicles come along, they put in a demand, they get the green. Then if there's a succession of vehicles and something appears on one of the other approaches to sets of traffic signals, a competing phase, then a timer decrements, second at a time, but from your maximum time, it gets to 0 and it says, chop, I will now go to the next stage in the stage sequence according to the logic. So the strength of having the under vehicle actuation by time of day is that overnight it's a good idea to put in low values, because if there is a fault on the detection, the signals will always run to that maximum. So you might have come across an instance where you're a set of traffic signals, there's nobody about, and you're sitting there whistling, what's happening now? There must be something peculiar happening. There's probably a fault on the detection, and the maximum for that phase might be 40 seconds, when probably overnight 10 or 12 would do. Now, this is one of the things we are going to look at, in that I'm sure it happens with all our local authority colleagues, in that you're continually reviewing what the maxima sets are at every set of your traffic signals. However, some local authorities might have just left them in there from the time the signals went in, which I suspect is quite a lot of people actually, which is fine. But we're thinking, well, I've mentioned the non-predictable random delays that go on in Derbyshire in particular. So maybe the overnight settings of 12 seconds near the M1 and there's a diversion on, and we've got masses of traffic, even overnight, masses of traffic coming through Derbyshire at our junction that's running 10 seconds for that traffic. That's not going to be very good. So we're going to use a bit of your money, Darren, on having an interface with the controller to modify the maxima sets according to image analysis detection, likely through Viva City, who I think have got a stand here. And that will also, goes back onto the evaluation and dissemination, that also brings in the monitoring. And we'll have some control sites. We won't do it at some, we will do it at some others and test what's best. We might even, with this system, and this is nothing to do with the maxima sets, is we might choose to give heavy goods vehicles a priority. Now that sounds a little bit strange, but if you think about the acceleration coefficients of large vehicles, they can hold an awful lot of others behind. So it might be best to get that truck out of the way and then revert back to normal operation afterwards. I'll say what if it might be a disaster, in which case we'll stop doing it. But it's worth trying, particularly when we've got CCTV in the area, we can monitor in the daytime, overnight, maybe do it from the pub, who knows. So, and then we might go for some more normal things of applying mover, some small scoot areas maybe where there's 3-4 junctions together, that there's good coordination between them, and we'll do permutations of the above. We'll have a ranked list, I'll have to be careful with that, a ranked list of sites. And there was something I was going to mention to Anthony on this. He said it's very important to have tools. And we have got a lot of tools in Derbyshire, which I realise, once I've said that doesn't sound very good, does it? But we've got many things to get a list. But the reason we're not doing any modelling is I'm expecting that the majority of work will be done where there's non-predictable and non-recurrent congestion. Therefore, going through the process of having a traffic count done, going to town with Linsig or whatever we would use on that, is going to give timings for that traffic set. That's not necessarily going to be appropriate for a bank holiday Monday when it's nice and sunny and people decide to come to the Peak District National Park. So there's a few things on that. And I know it's not necessarily the DFT's way, because the DFT's way in many respects would be, let's get out the green book and do it that, in which case I'm running away screaming and retiring if we've got to go to that. So there's some good common sense coming into this, but always on our proposals of monitoring actively what's happening. And once we can do that, our whole operation in Derbyshire will be better. We'll be managing it as though it's a big project. £500,000 in the context of highway schemes is not usually big, but there's going to be a lot to do round the county, almost concurrently as well. We've got to work cooperatively with our suppliers because the supply chain for many items of equipment is not as good as it was, so we need to plan it to deliver it. We'll go for the quicker wins, the bigger wins first if we can, risk-based approach, and we've already thought about some of these risks because we have all our contracts in place to allow us to get going immediately. Now, the people in the private sector will be saying, well, what's the big deal with that? Whereas most people in local government will be pulling their hair out if they've got some like me to say, wow, procurement, if you've got to get another company into contract somehow, it can take months to do from scratch unless they're on a framework already. All our contracts are in place for undertaking this work. So, detailed schedule. Then how are we going to analyse it? Well, I mentioned PTMS. We're going to use that actively, and that will give us data in the round and the network in Derbyshire. And also, I mentioned CCTV before. Yeah, we'll use that. We'll go up to it. We'll see, is that better than it normally is? That'll be more subjective. But also, of course, with the image analysis detectors, that will move from site to site to site if we need to, then we'll have objective data. Was that a success? If it is, and we expect that to happen, we will apply that philosophy throughout Derbyshire. Probably won't be with Green Light Fund monies because that'll have run out. But if we set the principle, it's not particularly difficult or expensive to learn lessons from one place and then put in the Maxima sets or similar somewhere else. So that's what we're going to do, apply the lessons. I think it's very important. I put a little bit of a cheeky one there, that perhaps next year, when we have the results of the success, we'll report it to this conference if that's allowable. So there we are, the summary. There's a need and an opportunity. Now, those can be different things, because I think there's a lot of passive extra delays when there needn't be. There'll be small delays continually, but it'd be best to get timings optimum throughout the network. We got the I'll say tools again, I can't help sniggering because I'm a bit of a schoolboy on that. So we've got that, and the quick wins is very important to the visitors and also the residents of Derbyshire. Now, I've said any questions, but bearing in mind there's so many experts in the room, I think I'd rather run away, if that's okay. Thank you.